we're going over the pros and cons of having a psychic ability. So we are ready to get started. Let's get started. What question do you have for me?
Okay. So I'm sure there's lots of people out there wondering who don't know about these psychics or have questions about them. So the first question I wrote down is psychic abilities and ESP the same thing?
Right. Okay. A lot of people, they call it two different things. Some people call it a psychic ability. Some people call it ESP. What do that mean? ESP means extrasensory perception. Okay. What that means in English is that, remember, we have 5 fingers, 5 toes, 5 senses. We got 5 everything. 5 is the symbol of man. That's why the pentagram is the symbol of man. We have a head. We have two arms, and we have 2 feet. That is the pentagram. But if you, just like with TV, if you want more than the local stations, you have to get it from somewhere else. And this is where you get into these extrasensory perceptions. If you want more than just a basic 5, you're into ESP or extra per sensory. You're in the ESP, which means extrasensory perception. And of these ESP or psychic abilities, there are 25 known psychic abilities that are known to exist. Okay, and this goes anything from second sight to be able to do divination, to be able to do astral projection, to clairvoyancy. There's 25 of these known abilities. Okay, now, these abilities are not really spiritual abilities. These abilities are because we have 5 senses. The lower angels have, we got a visitor. We have she wanted to be in the show too. She's welcome. We have 5 abilities. The lower angels have dozens of abilities, and the higher angels have hundreds of abilities. You do not have any of these extrasensory perceptions. You only have a preview of them. So you just have an inkling of what these abilities may be if one day you raise to that level. And this is like a preview that some people was given as a gift. What is the next question? Okay, so we went over what exactly is ESP.
Yeah.
And then how many psychic abilities are there? I just explained that there's 25 known. Okay. And how many are there really? We have no idea, but we know that there's at least 25.
Okay, so how do people obtain psychic abilities?
There's 3 ways to have a psychic ability.
Okay.
You can be born with a psychic ability, which is, okay, we always go here by analogy to make it easier to understand. So you can be born with a psychic ability, Superman. You can be bestowed or given a psychic ability, which is Thor and his hammer. Or you can learn a psychic ability. And learn is Iron Man, Batman. Okay. It doesn't make no difference if you was born with an ability, bestowed with an ability, or learned that ability. As you see in the comics, they're all equal. They're all equal Avengers as long as you can do the work. It makes no difference how you got it. You are equal. So Superman, Thor, and Iron Man is all equal. Because even though they got their ability 3 different ways, since they know how to use the ability they have, they are equal. Okay. Do that make sense?
Yeah. So you can teach someone how to
use
their ability.
True. But just because, okay.
Is that true?
True. But it's just like another analogy. So some people are born with the ability to play piano very good. And when they was a 10-year-old kid, they could play piano super good. That doesn't mean that you have to be a musician when you grow up. You can go to medical school and become a doctor. And you never do nothing with your musical ability. Just because you have an ability doesn't mean that you have to use it. Okay. Right?
And that was one of my questions.
Right. And just because you learn how to play the piano doesn't make you good at playing the piano. Anyone can learn how to play, but not everyone is going to learn it to the point of being a professional. That depends on you. And this is the trick of the secret of life is being able to, most people want to follow the flock. Okay. And this is very true when it comes to the metaphysical. Most people know people who's a tarot reader, so they want to be a tarot reader. Okay. Everybody wants to do the same thing. But just because you can learn how to read cards, that doesn't make you a good tarot reader. Mm-hmm. You can learn how to play piano. That doesn't make you a good piano player. You need to find what you're good at. And like with athletes, some athletes can play football, they can play basketball, they can play baseball. But they should choose the one that they're best at. Mm-hmm. Because that is where you're going to do your best. Mm-hmm. So with me, as an example, I used to be a tarot reader. As a tarot reader, I was okay. Mm-hmm. When I did tarot, I saw pictures on the cards, I saw pictures in my head, and I could semi-figure it out, and I was okay. Who wants an okay tarot reader? Who wants an okay taco? Mm-hmm. Who wants an okay dress? A lady that makes dresses and her dresses are okay. If you're okay, you don't need to do it. You need to find something you're very good at. So I switched from tarot to now I use a pendulum. And doing pendulum readings, I'm exceptional. So I very seldom ever do tarot readings anymore. Why do I want to be okay at something, right? Mm-hmm. And even though I know how to now do several different abilities, I specialize in the ones that I'm good at. And I'm an instructor, but a lot of things, like, for example, with energy work, I can teach people how to do energy work. I know how to do energy work myself, but I'm okay at energy work. I'm not a professional. So if someone needs an energy treatment, I'm going to refer them to somebody who is good or exceptional instead of saying, let me do it, I'm okay. Mm-hmm. Does this make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. You do not need to be a jack of all trades. You need to specialize in what you're good at. Does this make sense?
It does.
Excellent. Next question.
Okay. So are psychic abilities of God or Satan?
Okay. Psychic abilities, if you are born, remember, which I mentioned this before, we are locked in a house. Okay. We call upstairs, the upper part of the house, we call it heaven. It is not, it's upstairs. The main floor used to be very nice. Now it's kind of beat up and ugly with 7 billion people on it. And downstairs is kind of ugly, and we don't want to talk about what's going on in those dark corners over there. Okay. Now, we was upstairs in the land of light. When it was our time to be born, we went into the dark tunnel and we ended up in our mother's tummy. This is why when we die, if you have light, the tunnel reopens and they beckon you to go back upstairs. So, babies all come from upstairs. If there was a baby that was born who came from downstairs, that would be the Antichrist child. But we don't know of anybody who came that direction. Mm-hmm. All of us all came from upstairs, and we went into the dark tunnel and ended up here. So we came from the land of light. And people that are born with an ability get it from when they're born. And how we know this is two ways. Okay. Because everyone who is born with something called a guardian angel, which is like a tutor that is there to help you in your life. If you have an ability and you're born with an ability, you are born with something called a spirit guide, which is your helper to help you with your ability. Mm-hmm. If you are bestowed an ability later on in life, it comes with a spirit guide. Mm-hmm. If you learn how to do something, you're on your own. Okay. It comes with no guide because it's not from upstairs. Okay. So as long as it comes from upstairs, it comes with a guide. When you learn something on your own, you're on your own because you learned how to do that. So
is that more more dangerous?
Well, okay, it's just, okay.
Because you're kind of playing with...
So we're going to the Bible. When they asked Jesus by whose authority is he doing these things? If you are a medical doctor, the answer is by whose authority, or I have a license, a medical license from the University of Texas in Austin. I'm certified by the American Medical Association, blah, 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 blah. If you're born a healer, you have nothing. Because your authority comes from, you understand?
Okay.
You do not have a piece of paper. You don't have nothing. But you can heal people. Because your authority is from upstairs. Right?
Okay.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
This is why with Jesus, he didn't have a piece of paper.
Uh-huh.
He couldn't answer that question. Because he couldn't say, well, I learned it at the temple in Jerusalem, or I was working with this Pharisee or this rabbi. He couldn't say that because his ability came from upstairs. Anyone who's born with an ability or bestowed an ability, they don't have any paperwork. They just have that spirit guide that helps them with their ability. Now, that's the reason if you become a medical doctor on your own, you have to figure out how to heal. Where if you are a healer, you have that voice in your head or that person who is assisting you with your ability. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying? So anyone who has a spirit guide, people are gonna not like this. You have a voice in your head. Two voices. You have the voice of your guardian angel and you have the voice of your spirit guide. Okay. And these people talk to you in your head. Okay. Mm-hmm. Regular people have one voice, or a lot of people today are home alone because they lost their guardian angel a long time ago and they have no voices. But if you tell people I hear voices in my head, they're going to say you're crazy because most people have nada. Mm-hmm. Okay. But everyone with ability have a voice in their head. So now, is this of God or of the devil? That it goes deeper than that because we have something called free will. Mm-hmm. Another analogy. You can go to the police academy in any city to learn how to become a policeman. There is no police academy anywhere in the country to how to become a crooked cop. That do not exist. All crooked cops was once a good cop. All people that had abilities was once working in the light. That crooked cop was a good cop who went astray. A lot of readers start in the light and they go astray because, just like in the movie Star Wars, your power is limited in the light. Your abilities are limited because you're under the rules of upstairs. When you cross over to the dark side, there is no limit. So let's put this back to our analogy of being a policeman. If you're a good cop, the most you can make, if the city you live in is paying good cops $35,000 a year, the most you can make as a good cop is $35,000 a year. As a crooked cop, there is no limit to the amount of money you can make as a crooked cop. So, unfortunately, some cops convert to the dark side because they want to go beyond that $35,000 cap. And as a crooked cop, they can make $200,000, $300,000. Oh my gosh. Okay. This is why a lot of people with psychic abilities go bad. Because if you're helping people in the light, there's a limit to what you can charge them and a limit to what you can do for them. On the dark side, there is no limits. If a woman wants you to, get her, to make her husband come back, if somebody want to pay you to do whatever, as long as you got the connections to do it, you can do whatever thou will. And this is the rule of the dark side, which is from the book, the light side is ruled by the 10 Commandments. which is the same commandments, and well, in all the holy books all over the world, it's the same 10. The dark side is ruled by the Book of the Law, which was written by Aleister Crowley, which is only one rule. Do whatever thou wilt. But you're supposed to do it in love. Okay, that's just a bunch of crap. You can just do whatever you want, period. Okay, and there's a lot of people on the dark side who's doing a lot of things, which give all people who are metaphysical a bad name. Okay, but you are judged by your actions. Okay.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about you, because I think people want to know.
What about me? What about me?
Okay, you haven't had your abilities. How long have you had your abilities? When did it start?
Okay, some abilities I was born with.
Okay.
Then I was bestowed with more abilities, and then I learned other abilities. Okay, so I was born with the gift of channeling. I was, as I've told, which we already did a show on, I had some addiction problems when I was a kid. And I had some things like that when I was a kid. When I was probably around 30 years old or so, I was given the gift of knowledge, which is the ability of why I can do this show. And I was given several abilities. And over the years, as I have climbed the mountain, quote, not quote, I have been given ability after ability after ability. And then there's just several abilities I learned on my own, like the gift of divination, how to do readings. I learned that on my own. How to do ghost work. I learned that on my own. How to do several other things I learned on my own. Okay, because I wanted that ability and I didn't have it and I learned it on my own. Okay.
Okay, so is possessing psychic abilities, is it negative or positive influence
in your life? Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, with everything, the problem is having a psychic ability is a glass which is half full and half empty. Okay. Now, everyone will say, I would love to be able to see the future. I would love to be able to know what is going on. I would love to be able to heal people. But it is a glass which is half empty and half full. Because, I'm going to scare a lot of people, make a lot of people mad when I say this. A lot of people in insane asylums have abilities. That's the reason why they're in insane asylums. Because they have an ability. They cannot control or handle their ability, and their ability have driven them insane. Okay. This almost happened to me because I was born in a very religious household, and I was hearing voices and saying things, and they didn't want to play that game. Okay. You understand what I'm saying? And they was telling me that I had demons and I had this, and a lot of people don't survive that. Remember, there is no instructions. Okay. And I did a reading on a girl the other day who was having the same problem. She was raised in a house and she was seeing things and experiencing things. And she used to tell her mom all these things that was going to her. And they put her on medication. You get what I'm saying, don't you? Okay. Yeah. And those things. Okay, that's the reason why. See, when I was a kid, they didn't have all these drugs they have today. If you start talking crazy today, about I'm saying things, I'm hearing things, whatever. Boy, they have a pill for you. Okay. You get what I'm saying? Or they got a shot for you. And you'll be staring at the wall after that. Okay. Yeah. And you're thinking that something's wrong with you. It's just that, see, the definition of being normal is being the norm of society. So if you live in a if you live in a society where everyone is covered in tattoos and you don't have no tattoos, you are considered crazy because you're not doing the norm of society. You understand? Okay. If you live in society where everyone is, see, it's all about doing what everybody else doing, being a sheep, following the crowd, the herd. A lot of people that's born with abilities, they are going by that voice they're hearing. They don't care that much about money. They want to try to help people. Yeah. They want to try to go in that other direction.
Like, okay, lady medium, she can talk to dead people.
Okay,
or whatever.
Yeah.
So, she's talked about how she, goes places trying to do normal things. She's in the grocery store. and she picks up these things, in her head about from these people around her.
Right.
And she wants to go talk to them, but she
Okay. And when you have an ability like that to where, because as I mentioned before, we're on a tangent, but we're going to do this real quick. Okay. See, we're on, the world we live in is like being at the airport. You go to the airport and all the TV stations are on Fox News. It's not that there's only one TV station in the world. It's just that every TV at the airport is on the same station. Okay. We are all on Channel 5. Now, the ghosts are on Channel 4. The spirits are on Channel 7. They're all on different channels. Some people can see these other channels. Some people can pick up a little bit of these other channels. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, if you have that gift, and to put it scientifically, we see between 400 and 700 wavelength of light is what we can see. And as you get older, your vision narrows. But there are kids that can see 350. There's kids that can see 750. That's why kids can see things. Mm-hmm. And they have invisible friends, and they see shadows, and they see this and everything. As you get older, you don't see those things anymore. Now, just because we can't see something doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. And these people that have these ability where they can see ghosts or spirits or whatever, interacting with these things is the same thing which I used the analogy a week or two ago. If you go to the beach and get in the water, you're going to say, I never see any fish out there. I go in the water all the time. I never see any fish. What you mean there's fish out there? I don't believe in sharks. I don't believe in that. Because when you're in the water, the water blinds you. You can't see. But if a person gives you a pair of goggles, you will be shocked to notice how many fish is swimming around you while you're on the beach. Because you could not see them with your regular eyes. Now, it's not that the fish was put there to scare you. It's not that the fish are working with the devil or working with this. The fish was always there. You just couldn't see them. The ghosts and spirits were there. They was already there. The only thing that with these extrasensory perceptions is you have the ability to see. Mm-hmm. Okay. The problem is when you start telling other people what you are seeing, that's when the problem occurs. Because other people can't see what you can see. You have a pair of goggles, they don't. Mm-hmm. And you start saying, hey, there's fish out there. Hey, I saw this. You're crazy. I don't see no fish out there. You're talking crazy. What are you telling me this for? Okay, this is the problem.
And that's my next question. Are people forced to use their abilities?
No.
Okay.
If you have just like a person who, when they was a kid, knew how to play the piano very well. He is not forced to become a musician when he grows up. He can still go and be an engineer or an architect or a truck driver if he wants to. Right? He do not have to use his musical ability. Just because you have the gift of healing doesn't mean that you have to help people. Mm-hmm. Now, your spirit guide is going to try to whisper in your ear, hey, that person's in need. Why don't you help that person? Because your spirit guide know that you have that ability, but it's a free will choice. And if you say, no, I don't want to help. No, if that person's sick, they need to go to the doctor. I don't want to you have the right to do that. Mm-hmm. And the rule upstairs is this. I'm very much into rules. Mm-hmm. If you're given an ability, if you use your ability in a positive or negative way, you have to answer for it at the end of your life. Mm-hmm. For example, if you was given the gift of healing, and they ask you at the end of your life, because God only gave you one thing, life. So at the end of your life, the magic one question is asked. I gave you 54 years of life. What did you do with it? Yeah. Okay. After you get finished sweating and being panicked over that one, if you used your gift of healing, oh, by the way, you had that gift of healing. If you say, oh, I made a lot of money on that one. Okay, that's the wrong answer. Because gifts was given as a way to help society, not to help yourself. That's the reason you're limited on what you can do in the light. Okay. Because you're not supposed to be profiteering off of something you was given for free. He didn't charge you for that gift of healing. Okay, so you can cover your expenses or this or that or whatever, but you're not supposed to be profiteering off of something you achieved for free. Okay, so did I answer the question?
Yeah.
Okay, so, but if you don't use it and say, yeah, you gave me that gift of healing, but I didn't use it, then there's nothing to answer for because you never used it. Right? You chose not to use it, so you can't be judged on it because you had the ability, but just like the guy who learned how to play piano, he chose not to use his skills and to be a truck driver instead, so he can't be judged as a good piano player or as a bad piano player because he chose not to play the piano. Okay. Next.
Okay, what are some of the negatives of having, psychic abilities?
Okay, some of the negatives of having a psychic ability is, before we get into the positive, some of the negative things is since we live in a world where there's no instructions. Let me give you another analogy. When you buy that new iPhone, if you give it to one of your teenage kids, they can figure out all the steps in 20 minutes. They can do everything. Yeah. You can't do nothing because it comes with no instructions. Okay. Some people are born with all kind of psychic abilities. They have no idea. Okay. And that's the reason the glass is half full and half empty. Because the bad thing is some people are driven insane by their ability. Some people are burdened because since they have the gift of healing, they're spending all their time healing everybody else and they're not taking care of themselves. And you see what I'm saying? See, because they feel that burden that they can help people. And they feel like they must help everybody. But remember, you are an individual. You cannot heal the entire world. Right. You have to do your part. It's the same thing. An analogy on that is if you have rich. If you hit the lottery tomorrow, you always say, boy, if I had money, I would give money to the poor. And if I had money, I would donate this. And if I had money, now you got $1 million. If you give all your million away to all these different needs, what is going to be left for you? But if you say, I'm keeping the $1 million, I ain't giving nothing to nobody, then all that talking you did all those years was a lie and in vain. Because you said, if I had money, I would help. And if you are given money, you have to do your part. So that is the negative, is that some people don't understand about doing their part and they get overburdened, or because of the structure of society, they are shunned and end up in a mental institution or end up where they cannot function because I know people who can hear the thoughts of other people. They can't go to the mall. They can't go anywhere. They can only go to the grocery store at night where there are very few people. And their ability has turned into a handicap. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Because they don't know how to handle their ability. Right. Okay. Now, the next question is, what are some of the positive things about having an ability? Yeah. Having an ability, the analogy is like having money. If you have money, if you're poor, it's limited. You can still help others, but it's limited on how much you can help others because you don't have any money. You don't have any ability. But if you're rich, you have the ability to help people, but that doesn't mean you have to give all your money away to everybody and have nothing for yourself. So the positive part of having an ability, you have the ability to help others. You have the ability, if you have the gift of healing and there's a person who is having some problem, these people just seem to know to come to you and they say, oh, I feel so bad. And for some reason, they're drawn to you. Mm-hmm. You can't help everybody, but you can help. You have to do your part. Mm-hmm. And this is what I do as a reader. I specialize in, helping people with problems, mm-hmm. or helping people that's having, problem with ghosts or spirits or whatever, or things in their house. And these people just happen to bump into me, and I help them with their problems and get them back on the road of life again. Mm-hmm. Okay. What? Next question.
Okay. Are psychic abilities part of man's future evolution?
Okay. The question, we've been on this planet. If you believe in the Bible, we've been here for 6,000 years. If you believe in science, we've been here for a lot longer. I'm going to tell you the truth. People that look exactly like me and you have been on this earth for 100,000 years. That's the reason, this is how long we have been here. We have now come to the end of physical evolution. We're not getting no more fingers, no more toes. We can run a mile in less than 4 minutes. We're done. If we survive and don't kill ourselves, we're going to start the next 100,000 years of mental evolution. What does that mean? We have this thing between our ears, which scientists keep saying is the world's most powerful computer, but for some reason it doesn't work. You can't do 52 times 38 in your head. For some reason, it doesn't work. Slowly, they're going to turn this on. And if we want an idea of what the future looks like, we can look at some of our little alien friends. As people comment all the time, they talk to each other without moving their mouth. They talk to each other telepathically. They can do other things. They can sense what's going on around them. I guess they can drive a car without having all these mirrors and things around. There are people who can do that too. Some people can sense if somebody's behind them or who's doing this or if their kid is sick at school or whatever. See, we all are supposed to have these abilities, but for some reason it doesn't work. Slowly, we're going to start turning things on. Now, will this be good or bad? It depends on what we do with these abilities. If we're going to use these abilities to make it's just like, analogy again, it's just like in these superhero movies. By these people having abilities, are they making the world a better place? Or are they making the world a worse place by them fighting and knocking over buildings and this and that? That is what we have to figure out. And if we get to the point where we have power, maybe 2,000-3,000 years from now, are we going to use our power so we can have psychic warfare and instead of using weapons to kill people, we'll be able to kill people with our thoughts or are we going to use our ability to help all of humanity to move forward? We will still have something called free will. Mm-hmm. And with free will, it will be up to us to determine the future direction of man in a positive or a negative way. Okay. So these are the questions. Any other questions you have? She's out of questions.
Those are the ones I have written down.
So you can say, boy, I would love to have an ability. I would love to do this. Now, everyone has things. It's just like, as I said, it's just like playing a musical instrument. You would say, boy, I would love to be able to play a musical instrument. When I was in school, I wanted to play flute. I didn't have the breath. My lungs wasn't strong enough to play a flute or a clarinet. So I played something else. Everyone can develop something. But you need to work with someone. You know what I'm saying? If I want to learn how to build houses, I can go to Home Depot and spend several $100s on wood and stack it up and start cutting it and whatever. It probably won't be a pretty piece when I'm done. It would be a lot better if I worked with someone who was already building houses and I slowly learned how to do it. And then I could, maybe 10, 20 years from now, I would have the experience to know how to build a house, right? This is the old way of how metaphysics used to be. If you wanted to practice, you had to have an apprenticeship or work with somebody. Today, people want to go online for 20 minutes and they want to be a high priestess. You can't go online for 20 minutes and say, I'm a lawyer or I'm a doctor or I'm a dentist. It doesn't work. People do not want to take the time to learn. But if you want to have an ability, you can contact me, or there's several people out there. The best thing I would say, in my opinion, is to go through a light worker, but you can go through anybody. And if you have your favorite metaphysical store or the place you like to go, you can talk to the instructor there and say, how do I learn how to meditate? Or how do I learn how to work with crystals? Or how do I learn how to do this? Or if you go to Reiki, you can ask your Reiki master, how do I learn how to do this? I'm going to tell you, it's going to take more than 20 minutes. Okay. If you're willing to, everything in life costs you the most important thing in your life, time and effort. Okay. And if you're willing to devote the time and effort, you can learn how to do almost anything. And then, as I told you, you're going to pick and choose what you're good at. So in building a house, I might find out that I'm very good doing drywall. I'm not that good in plumbing. So why do I want to be an okay plumber if I'm super fantastic doing drywall work? Right? I do not have to do everything. Once I learn how a house is built, I can specialize on what I'm good at. And once you start working with someone, you will find out, hey, I'm good in candle magic. Hey, I'm good at aromatherapy. Hey, I'm good at healing. Hey, I'm good at whatever. Okay, and that is what you choose for yourself. Don't say, well, my friend is doing this, so I have to do this too. That's the wrong answer. Okay. Remember, we are snowflakes. You need to find the path which is right for you. Excellent. So I hope you enjoyed this today. We went over this subject. You need to listen to this. Pass it on to your friends, because this is information, that you can learn. And what a lot of people want to do, if they want to learn how to be a tarot reader, they go to and buy a book and they read the book, and then they put out their sign, they're charging $60, and they leave carnage. Because when you start dealing with people and people's lives, you have to know what you're doing. Your mistakes hurt people sometimes. You understand what I'm saying? So you should not go out there. If you're going to practice on people, you should tell people, hey, I'm just learning how to do this. I'm not charging. I'm just doing free readings. I'm not that good. So, if I make a mistake, you need to be honest with the people. And then when people say, that lady told me this and it was totally wrong. Oh, but she told me she was just starting now. Right? What makes you look bad and me look bad is when they tell me, I went to this lady a year ago and that lady knew nothing about what she was doing. And everything she told me was total BS. That makes all of us look bad. Okay. You do not want to do that. Okay. Because that's how you make enemies, upstairs, downstairs, everywhere. Okay. So that ends our thing for today. So